Hey, hi everyone. Very good evening. Hello, Pratyush. Good evening. Hi, Nabila. Good evening. Yes. Hi, Harsh. Hi, Shaik. All right. Is my voice is loud and clear online? Maybe YouTube and also those who connected with the Zoom link. Once can for me. All right. Perfect. So let us get started then. So before we get into today's topic, so what are the topics we have covered in yesterday's session? Can you just start posting it one by one on the chat box? What are the topics we have covered in yesterday's session? And if I give any task, you can also mention the task which I've given. All right, Galton, string, integer, float, yes. Harsh, user input, was in variable types, yes. Concatenation, indexing, and slicing, great Sai. Nabila, manipulating string with string methods, right? String methods, yes. Functions and loops. Yeah, functions and loops, I think so. We did not get into it. We just started with that. Great. And that absolute value, what is this absolute number? We looked onto it, right? Interacting with user input, yes, I. So, correct, yes, person. So, have you all worked on the task, string functions? I think we have 32, around 35 different functions we have. Have you all worked on it? At least 15 functions. Hi, Ishwar. Okay. Ash, yes. What about others? Did you all get time to work on the task given yesterday? All right, Nabila, Jagdish, Harsh. I think I'm getting responses from only them. Yes. So others try to work on it. So that will definitely give you a good understanding about Python scripting part. Okay. So now let's get into today's topic. So today we are going to continue from there. I think on the day when we understood why this we understood this brief history of artificial intelligence, how it is working, and then we looked on to different terminologies with respect to this data science domain, the difference between machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and artificial intelligence, data science, and everything. And then we understood about what all the different designations with respect to data term available in the market and how we have to differentiate between them and what are the skills expected with respect to each and every designations we learned it. And then just give a minute. And then we have looked on to the roadmap in order to become a successful data scientist. So what are the things that we have to study and everything? We looked onto the roadmap. And then the next day we understood the life cycle of a data scientist, and we looked onto the cycle. And then we understood what are the different IDs available, and we installed this Jupyter Anaconda Navigator. Within that, we started working with Jupyter Notebook. And then we looked onto the agenda of this Python programming part and why Python programming. We have understood that. And yesterday we started with chapter 1, 2, 3, and until third chapter we completed. So today we are going to work on that fourth chapter and fifth chapter. And then if time permits, we will be getting into this data structures. That is, we have lists, sets, tuples, and dictionaries. How we are, why we are having this data structures and everything. All right, chapter 4, 5, 6, we are planning to complete it today. Let's get into today's topic. So you all can open up the file which we have, which we are working till now. So the file which you opened up yesterday, we all can open that file. So let me share my screen now. So this is the folder which we are working. Let me open it. All right. Chapter 1, everything we completed. So I'm just going to get into chapter 4. And there are basically three different types of functions we have. Predefined functions, user-defined functions, and the third one is anonymous functions. Now we all know what is this predefined functions. Now we are going to get into this user-defined function, how to write our own customized function. We have to look, will be working on it. Could you share this file again, please? Yes, RUC 7, I will be doing it. By end of today's session, I will be sharing this file in your dashboard. Okay, you don't need to worry about it. All right. Now see this, how to write your own function. So from here, we are going to get started. So let me share this agenda. Let us take a quick look onto it. So chapter 4, we are going to start from how to write your own functions and definitions, and then chapter 5, and then we are going to get into chapter 6. Let's start with this chapter 4, first part, write your own functions. Let us get into it. So in order to write my own function, the very first key point is nothing but, so first we have to use this keyword called as DEF, definition. Okay, so this is the syntax with respect to Python, how we can write it. So definition, the very first part is nothing but, first we have to, there are two types basically. First two-step approach to write this user-defined function. First step is nothing but define your function. That is what that when we are calling this function, what it need to be done. So that's what this define your function. For example, if I'm just calling out washing machine, so washing machine is used to wash our clothes, right? If I'm calling a TV remote, that is one class. So TV remote is used to switch between multiple channels. So each and every functions is going to perform different tasks. So first step is nothing but we have to define a function with the name. With the name. Second step, call the function. Call the function. All right. So this is the two-step approach basically. Okay. So now what I'll do is nothing but I'm using definition as my keyword. Let's say I will be using one small function. Let's say I will be calling one function with the name. Let's say get details. All right, get details. So since it is a function, I will be using open and close parentheses. Now there is no function with the name get details, right? So if you're executing this, get details is not defined. So now what I'm doing, so now I want, whenever I'm calling this, I wanted to see a display of welcome to the first function. Something like this, it need to display. So whenever I'm calling this, this is what I'm expecting to display. So first you have to define it. Get underscore details, open and close parenthesis, colon, we have to give it syntax, And then in the new line, so just use this print statement, print welcome to the first function. All right. So first what I'm doing, see this, I have not executed this line. If I'm executing it, I will be getting getting some number. But I've executed, I just directly called it. Let me execute it again. This line, shift enter, I'm giving it. See this, get it is not defined. So what I'm doing, I'm just defining this particular function. Step number one, define your function with the name. Let me define it. Okay, see, you're not seeing any output here, but when I'm calling this function, you're able to see welcome to the first function. You can now you can call anywhere. The way how you use this len method, you can call anywhere within the Jupyter notebook. In the similar way, what you can do, you can call anywhere. Let's say here I'm going to call get underscore details, tab button. See this, now the function is already being defined. So now whenever I'm calling this function with the name, internally it will know what task to perform there. So that's what, whenever you're typing this len length, okay, len length, and within inside this, sorry, let me just execute it. Inside this, if you're passing anything like learner one, it is just performing, counting it. So who has given this what exactly this length need to do, who has written this function, it's already been defined by the developers itself who developed this Python programming language. So we are not writing it. So why we are writing this user-defined function? Because it's a customized function. I can write my own function and I can say what I wanted to do. So for that reason, we are going with this user-defined function. And to write this user-defined function, def is a keyword, and this is a function name, and open and close parenthesis, colon. And here we have to maintain this 5 tab space automatically. If you just give the colon and then if you give the enter button, you will be getting it. In case if you're not maintaining this, see this, it will throw in error stating that indentation error expected in intended block. So always there should be a proper space between this definition, that is 5 space between this definition and this function name. So this is how you can write your own function simply. Got my point? Great. Is my voice is breaking, everyone? Is my voice is breaking or is it clear? The one who has connected from Lenovo, once check your network. I think the voice is good here. All right, please check from your side. It should be working then. All right then. So def keyword get. So try to use this complete name. It should be working. Jagdish. Oh, it should be clear. Is my font size, is it not clearly visible to everyone? Is it clear? I think again, Drax, it is clear. So just once, what you can do, if you're seeing with respect to your screen, you do have the option to zoom in. So try to zoom in from your screen. It should be clearly visible. All right. So Pratyush, get details is used to call the contents in get details. Yes, Pratyush, you got it right. Fine. So let me zoom a bit, maybe. I think now it should be visible. All right. So now you're writing this user-defined function. So this is the first baby step we can say. But whenever this user-defined function, I'm just slowly going to increase the complexity of writing this user-defined function now. See this. All right. See this. Now what I will be doing is nothing but, so now let me write it. Definition. Let me write maybe get user details. All right. So this is a function which I would be defining. So basically, when I'm just calling this function, get underscore user details, or else, yes, get underscore user details. So here I'll be passing the names. Let's say Leelavadi, and I will be passing maybe the age. Okay, let's say age is 28. Okay, I'll be passing Leelavadi and the age. Now, if I'm just giving it, it is going to say get user details is not defined. So when I'm calling this particular function, these two values it need to get captured in the user defined function itself. For that reason, what I do is nothing but this Leelavadi need to be captured in something like name, comma, this age need to be captured in something like age, right? So this 28 will be captured here. Now within this function, what I'll do, print name, comma, this name, whatever it got stored, print age. I'll be writing this age. Okay. Now, first, let me define this particular function. See this still I'm executing it, shift enter. And now when I'm defining it, see this name and Leelavadi got printed. So this part, so this value, so whenever you're calling this function and this value is what you're passing, we call it as parameters. All right, we say we are passing parameters when we are calling this function. That's what the term, let me repeat it. So when we are calling the functions, we are passing some parameters, and these parameters need to be captured in the function definition. We call it as arguments. Okay, maybe if you're from programming background, you should be knowing this parameters and arguments term. But in case if you're from non-programming background, maybe you need to be very clear with the terms. So when you're calling this function, we call it as parameters. When you're writing this function, that is when you're defining the function, we call it as arguments. So now the point here to be noted is nothing. Let's see this Leelavadi need to be captured in name, and this 28 need to be captured in age. Now, in case if you're changing this age and name, what will happen is nothing but Leelavadi will get stored into age, 28 will get stored into name. Now, if you're, let me execute this function again, function definition. Then if you're doing it, see this, now the position of the parameter got interchanged. So when you're writing this function, the position of parameters is very much important. So this part, we call it as positional arguments. We have to be careful about positional arguments when we are writing this user-defined functions. Got my point, everyone? Yes, sir, it is overloadable. Yep. So Patan, this file is something which we are working from yesterday, which you have to work along with me on call. I have not shared this file yet. All right. So positional argument is something very important. The first point to be noted, right? Now again, let me create some other thing. That is, let me create this definition. So I will be creating one function called as, let's say get employee details. Let me create it. Get employee details. Now, when I'm calling this particular function, I will be passing some number. Let's say employee ID is 1, and then the name is let's say it is Pratyush. All right, and his age is 26. Let's say, and he is working with let's say he's working with Google. Call it Google. Now, when I'm passing this parameters, it need to be captured in this function definition. So what I do, let me create one function definition. Def get employee underscore details. So first one is nothing but employee number. Second one, let me capture an employee name. The third one is nothing but age and his company where he is working for. Okay. Now what I wanted to print, let me give one something like a decoration. And within this print, I wanted to print employee name. What I have to take, sorry, employee number. Here I have to get this employee number. Print employee details, sorry, employee name. Employee name. Print employee age. And then print workplace, something like workplace. Just for proper alignment, I'm making it. That's it. It is company. All right, and then let me copy this, Control C. Let me paste it. So I've written one function. Now let me give Shift Enter. First function definition. Now when I'm calling this, I will be passing it. Now again, let me copy this function. I'll be passing some other values. Let's say employee ID is 2. Now the name is Harsh Singh. Sage is 22. He's also working in Google, right? So now again, employee ID is 3. Now the name is, let's say, maybe Pranav. 24, Google. Now see this, when I'm just calling this function, why we need to rely on this function for thing, but hey, some set of operation, it need to be performed again and again. So that kind of function, customized function, I've just written it. So whenever I'm calling this, so I have to make sure the same function will be performed step by step. Now the point here is nothing, but when you look onto this function and I'm just calling it, there is something in common. What is that? When I'm calling this function, there is something in common. Yes, Sadiq, right. When we are calling this function, there is something in common. What is it? Function name should be same. Yes. Order of details. Okay. Number of parameters. Okay. Position of parameters. Assignment submission. So there is no submission here. Who was me that? Suresh. Just this is everything for practice here. Nobody is here to look onto your assignments. Just for your self practice. If it is a program, assignments team will be there. But since it's knowledge purpose, knowledge transfer, just I would be giving some tasks for your practicing. That's it. All right. Function underscore. Everybody responding this. So, okay. Look onto this. When I'm just creating this function, okay, function has been, so this is the way how we have to define the function. But if you look onto this, when I'm calling the function, every people are working with what? Working with? All the employees are working with Google. So which means that the workplace is common. Whenever I'm just calling this function, so the workplace is common. So basically, whenever we are calling this particular function, every time we have to give Google. Now we know that hey, everybody is working in Google. Now why do I need to pass one parameter every time? And it is becoming a bit burden for me because I know that everybody is going to work with Google. So if in that case, what we can do is nothing but see this. Instead of passing this, so you can just make this company with one asterisk, sorry. company here itself during the function definition, just give equal to and just give Google. Okay. Now let me execute this cell number 21 again. Okay, see this, the default value for company is nothing but Google. Let me execute this 25. Now I'm not going to pass this Google here. Okay, now I'm not going to pass it. See this, it already has taken Google. Now here also I'm not going to pass it, the last parameter, but it has taken Google. So here I'm not passing anything Google. Let me take it out. Here it is, Google. So default, by default, it is trying to take this particular Google. So what is this particular thing? We call it as default parameters. Now, when you know already that one parameter will be default, one argument value will be default. Whenever we are calling this function, we call it as default arguments. So here it is default arguments. Now, what if, let's say Pranav is working with IBM? So when I'm creating this function, I just wanted to override it. So what I can do is nothing but, see this, the last variable, if I'm just saying IBM, so now this IBM will get overwritten on top of this company. See this, now if we are passing it, IBM, it got overwritten. Now in case, if you're not using this equal to here, if you're not using this, okay, but here, how many arguments are getting it? 4 arguments. Now let me re-execute it. Okay, it got executed again. Now, if you're executing this, see this, there is a problem. So missing one required positional argument, that is company. So this is an argument, as I said. So since you have not made it default, it is throwing in error. So again, here you have to give Google every time, Google every time. So, but we know already they are working with Google. So at that time, when we are calling the function itself, we can make it as default. Okay, now if you're calling it, it will be working. And this type of writing the function, we call it as default arguments. Default arguments. So now when we are creating a function, we can give this particular default arguments and we can create it. In case if you wanted to overload this particular parameter, yes, that is also possible. Got it, everyone? Is that point clear? Hi, Srinivasa. Good evening. Good to know. Good to have you here. Yes, Sania, that also you can do. All right. Sadiq, I want to change sum into another one. Change sum into another. So what happened? Sadiq, I don't understand your question, Sadiq. Sorry. Fine. All right. So now I think you got what exactly this default argument is. Now let's move on to, again, there are other things to take. So what I'll do, let me copy this. Let me copy this. I'm creating new cells below here. I think you should be knowing how to create it. Now here, let me change the names to get employee details underscore to. I'm just changing it. Now I'm just removing it. Okay, now I'm removing it. Let me define this function. Now, let me write this function. Now, when I'm calling this particular function, get employee details to, I'll be calling like this. Let's say, let me copy this. Pratyush and 26. So let's say Pratyush, when the data need to get stored in the database, let's say I'm writing this kind of function. Now Pratyush is working with, let's say, multiple companies. He's a freelancer. Whenever there is a requirement, he used to go and work. Now Pratyush is working with, let's say he's working with ExcelR, and he is working with, let's say, IBM, and he is working with also, let's say, Dell. Okay. Now Pratyush is working with these three organizations as a freelancer or as a consultant. Now let me execute this. So here, if I'm just directly executing it, It states it takes 4 positional arguments, but we're given 6, right? 4 positional arguments it is expecting, but how many parameters we are passing? 3. 6 parameters we are passing it. Now, when the information need to get stored, the last variable, I need to, no matter how many arguments, or how many parameters I'm sending it to this, it need to get captured into this company itself. Okay, let me repeat it. After the first three, all the other parameters, when I'm passing this function, it need to get captured in company. So if that's the case, I will be giving with something called as asterisk here. Let me again execute this function. And now let me see this. ExcelR, IBM, and Dell got into this workplace division. So what is this particular part? And this bracket, we call it as a tuple. Okay, you can note it down. It is a tuple. That's going to be the next session, by the way. Different data structures, we'll be discussing it. Now, this information, see this, Pratyush, it got stored. Now, what does this asterisk mean? This asterisk means it is a variable length argument. We call this as variable length argument if you find this kind of asterisk. So when you're writing these functions, you can make a default argument. You can give this particular asterisk. And the next question, can I give this asterisk in middle of this arguments? No, you can't give that. So you should give this asterisk only at the end of this particular parameters. So now you can just give anything. Let's say, let me call this Control V. So now let me create this as maybe Saloni. Let's say Saloni is working with AA variant. InnoDataTix and okay, InnoDataTix. Let's say only 2 companies. I can call this invalid syntax. Why is that? Okay, here I have to give this comma. Now see this. So it can be any variant. Sorry, it can be of any length. That's why the name itself is saying it is a variable length argument. So is this part clear, everyone? Yesterday's material is not uploaded along with the video. So I said yesterday, I'm not sure what's your name. It's been mentioned as Lenovo. So yesterday's material, I told you that post completion of today's session, I will be sharing this notebook in your material. There is no material for yesterday. We were working with the same Jupyter notebook file. I told you to work along with me yesterday, so not uploaded. Sadik, if you set Google as default and I want to change, if we set Google as default and I want to change just to one person to another company, try out once, Sadik. Try out once. I think this is just your idea. With whatever your idea you have, just try out once and see in your system. All right. Rafai, what to do when argument is in the middle? You can't keep a variable length argument in the middle, Rafai. That's what I said. Jagdish, I think I've answered to this question. Supriya, in workplace, why brackets are appearing when we create more arguments? That's how it takes, because it's a variable length argument, right? So it is going to combine everything and it is going to give it to workplace. That's why that's the purpose of this variable length argument. Okay, fine. So see this is one way of getting the details. Now again, what do I do? Let me copy this, Control C. Let me come down. Let me paste it. Let me just give the name like employee details 3. Now what do I do? Let me remove this. Now here I'm just going to give double asterisks. Okay, instead of single asterisks, I'm going to give double asterisks. Let me execute this. Now let me call this Control C. Let me paste it here. 1 minute, Sadiq, let me come there. So let me see this, get details 3. Now I'm just going to call this. Okay, here I've just given double asterisk, right? Let me call this. So here it will be throwing me errors. It's get employee details 3 takes 3 positional arguments, but 5 were given, right? So now what is this double asterisk? Nothing but now when the values are getting stored here, if I wanted to store it in another way, that is in a dictionary format. So what I can do is nothing but here, let me say company one is equal to A variant and company2 is equal to, data text. In this way, after this first 3 variables, you can give a name, first priority, second priority, in that way also you can do it. Now if you give shift enter, see this, company1 is A variant, company2 is, data text. In this way, we call it as a dictionary way of, we call this as a key and value pair. Again, this key and value pair, the next part we will be, the chapter 6, we will be discussing about that. But the point here is nothing but this is one way of storing the data. If you want to store in this way, go with variable length. But in case if you wanted to store with respect to key and value pair, so make it as a double asterisk and try to use it up. So if you're using with the double asterisk, we call this particular part as keyword argument. Keyword argument. Why? Because this we call it as a key and this we call it as a value. So this is how you can write your own functions. Now the next question which I'm getting in my mind, can I have variable length argument and a keyword argument at the same time? Yes, you can have it. Now see this, let me copy this function again. Let me paste it. It is 4. Now what do I do? Let's say company here and employee name after age. Let me keep it. See this. First, you can keep this. You can keep this variable length argument here and then keyword argument here. You can't keep this variable length argument in the middle of it. It is going to throw you an error. Okay. So see this. Let me execute it. Now, when I'm calling this particular function, get employee details 4. First is nothing but employee number. Let me pass 1. Second one is age. You can pass it. Let's say it is 23. Anyway, age. Accordingly, this anyway it is getting passed. Internally, it will be stored into this in this particular order. But positional argument is something important. Name. Let's say name, just for the purpose of understanding, I'm just writing it, but this will never make more sense. Age, employee name is nothing but, let me give here, it is Sadiq. One is Sadiq. Second one is, let me give maybe Ishwar. Okay, in this way I'm giving it. So since I'm not going to give this key and value pair, these 2 values will get stored into ename. Okay, now let me give a comma and then this company. You can give anything, let's say company, comp or a comma, anything you can give it. That's not a problem. So I'm just going to give like company 1 is equal to, it is Dell, comma, company 2 is equal to, it is maybe IBM. In this way, you can keep adding it. So the first parameter will get stored into E number. The second parameter will get stored into age. And these 2 things, since it's a variable length argument, it will be stored into this E name. And this key and value pair, it will be stored into company. Now let me execute it. Sadiq and Ishwar, employee name, and here it is also happening. So you can keep your variable length argument and keyword argument. All right. So you can keep your variable length argument and keyword argument at the same time while writing your functions. So these are all the points that you have to keep in your mind when you're when you're creating your own functions and you're writing it down. Up to this clear, let me take some questions. So now let me do a quick recap. So what we have done is nothing but basically we have started with the basics functions, how to write a basic function. Then we learned about positional arguments. The position is very important. Third, we learned about this default arguments. Fourth, we learned about variable length argument. Fifth, we learned about keyword argument. And these are all the points. And whenever we are creating the function, we can also have variable length and keyword argument at the same time. Up to this clear? Yes, Ishwar, we can do that. But if you want to create a box type and everything, you have to go with HTML and everything. That's what I need to do. 1 minute. Yes, still have the 1 minute. Hmm. All right, Leela, it's been made here. Yes. Now you won't be able to see others chat. So Pratyush, maybe we can use concepts of oops. All right, Sadiq. Jagdish, sure, it is clear, but can you please tell me a real world example to understand why we are doing this? So yes, Jagdish, park this question for a while. When we are getting into Python libraries, you will be understanding that part. Because a library, you just take copy this question and park it, and you will be understanding this why we are learning these functions and everything in a while. Pratyush, variable length argument, can you explain it again? Yes, variable length is nothing but you just need to give this asterisk because you wanted to take multiple values post the first three arguments. So you can give this asterisk symbol when you are creating the function. So now whenever you're seeing any functions, if you get to see this asterisk and everything, you should know the term. What is this asterisk is all about? Double asterisk. What is this double asterisk all about? You should be knowing this particular terminology. So for that, I'm just making it. Pratyush, the last one, very okay. Here, basically, when I wanted to create a function, so I wanted to create with the variable length and also keyword. So if that is my goal, yes, I can create it. So to give you an understanding how to create these two, for that reason, I just created as variable length and also keyword argument, just for the practicing purpose. I think Pratyush, it should be clear. Julie, is there any limit for the number of values we can pass under variable length of? No, there is no limit, Julie. You can pass any number. So let me try to answer Sadiq's question. So Sadiq's question is, so there are three persons, two works with Google and one work with Apple. Okay. And we set company by default Google. Can we change and we want to change company for that one person separately? I don't think so. We can create within only one function, Sadiq. We can't do that. There are three persons, two works with Google and one work with Apple. Mm, employee name, I'm passing this inside this. When we are creating this, maybe here itself we can do this. This is employee number. Maybe here itself we can just try to make employee number is equal to, maybe here you can just make it like fixed. Okay. Or employee number, within this we can make it as fixed. Or again within this where you can write this if condition, if this employee name, if it is equal to this name, I wanted to make the company name is equal to Google. In that way we can try to come up with the logics. Okay, we have to include this kind of logics within this particular program. Hope that answered your question. All right. So now one more point to be noted, yes, Adik. One more point to be noted is nothing but when we are writing this function, all right, see this very important thing. Let me write this one. Yes, let me copy this. Let me paste it. See this. Get user details, age and name. I'm getting it. All right. So now what I'm doing. mm, Yes, Harsh, we can also do that. But there is something which I'm trying to explain. Let's say that I'm just using something called as return. Okay. Now I'm just wanted to return. Let's say, let me create some other function. Let's say get two numbers. Get two numbers. All right. So whenever I'm just calling this function, get two numbers, get two numbers. So I'll be passing any two numbers. I'll be passing 23, 45. So these two numbers is called as what? Altered Saloni. So sorry, Saloni. You can maybe you can try it out. You can just give me the script. Parameters. Great. We call it as parameters. Since I'm not focusing on the logics, how to come up with the things, it will take some time to write out. Since yeah, hope you all can understand that. So see this 23 and 45 is something parameters. So it is not default parameters, Trisha. Any parameters you can just pass it out, or parameters what we're trying to pass. This need to be captured when we are calling this sorry, function definition. When we are writing this function, it need to be captured. Maybe I'll just say number one and number two. Okay, give a column. Now what else says nothing but I wanted to print number one and print number two. Then I wanted to return number one plus number two. Okay, see this. First, let me define the function, shift enter. Then when I'm calling it, see this. First, number one is getting printed, number one 23. Number two is also getting printed, 45. Now return number one plus number two, 23 plus 45 is 68. Now again, when I'm using print also, print number one plus number two. Now when I'm executing it, I see this 68. Now print is also performing the same task. Return is also performing the same task. Yes, Abdul, I'm coming to the point. So number one and number two, it is I'm just given within this print option. And return, it is performing the same task. Now, what is the difference between print and return? Is nothing but see this. I can have n number of print statement within this function, but I can have only one return statement in my function definition. Look onto it very carefully. I can have n number of print statement within my function definition, and I can have only one return statement here. Now, in case, let me copy this return. Cutting, I'm just cutting it. Let me paste it here. Okay. Now what is happening? See this. This return acts as a termination point of a function. Termination point. So now see this 47 cell re-executed. Now see this 68. So now this line is not at all getting executed. So if you're using two return function, can I use it? Return number one. So the function is getting terminated here itself. So what will be the output if I'm calling it? What will be the output when I'm calling this function now? It is 23, right? See this, it is 23. So yes, Sonia. So only one return function I can have within my function, and it's up to us whether because if you see here, I haven't used this return statement anywhere. It's up to us to use this return statement because when you're writing this program in PyCharm and everything, so we try to go with this return statement. Why? Because there is a connection between one function within another function. So the function need to return something. So or else you won't, even though if you're using multiple print statement, so that print statement you won't be able to see as an output over there. So at least one return statement it need to have when you're working with other IDs like PyCharms and everything. There is a connection between this. But for now, just take it like this. So a return statement is nothing but I can have only one return statement within my function definition. I can have n number of print statements. So what we do before using return, we try to give all this print statement here and then return it, so that this is going to give me the answer. It's not like that, Pratyush. So print is better than return. No, it is not like this. So returns is nothing but a termination point. If you wanted to print multiple statements within that function, it is a customizable function. That's what I said. It's up to us to create our own function. Yeah. So this is one point to be noted. Return user defined function with return. Okay, so UDF is nothing but user defined function. We can use like a stopper. Yes, that's right, Jagdish. Fine. So this is all about your this particular chapter. Very important, as I said before. Chapter 4 and 5 was very important. So here we have spent a good amount of time in understanding, almost 1 hour. We spent to write our own user defined function. Very, very important point to be noted. So in the programming world, so the software developers or even we write multiple programs, multiple user defined functions, and we try to call it, we try to keep it in a separate file, and we try to have a connection with one file with the another file, and we will be creating it. So creating user defined functions. So this is the very base. So from here, you can start, there is a lot of logics what you can just add it within this function and everything. That's a high level of programming. Now I'm not going to get into it, but in case if you're exploring more, just you should be knowing what is this particular terminology, why we are writing it, you should be knowing it. Right. Now let's move on to the next one, run in circles. Okay, after completing chapter 5, we will be going for a quick break. Run in circles is nothing but, let me again go back here. Let me give this term. It is 4.2. Run in circle is nothing but you wanted to perform the same task again and again and again. Right, Harsh, correct. So now see this. Now what I wanted is nothing but, let's say I wanted to print numbers from 1 to 10. Let's say if you're just trying to calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're getting 10 numbers. And if you wanted to print it, you can just see this output. Now, what if I wanted to print the numbers from 1 to 100? I can't go here and type 1, 11, 12, 13. I can't do that. It's a very painful task for me. So, but here, if you see, it is something a repeated thing, right? So I will be printing 1, and this 1 need to be incremented by 1. 2 will be incremented by 1. Something just an addition of 1. That's a repeated task. So what for that? What do I do? There is something called as a range function here. Range. Within that, you can give 1 to, let's say if you want to print till 10, you can just give 10. But if you're just giving 10, it will be till which number it will get printed? What do you say? If the end number of it is 10, till which number it will get occupied? Is it 1 to 10? Is it 11? Great Mohammed. It is 1 to 9. It will occupy 1 to 9, because I always say the last number, it should be n plus 1. Anyway, you'll be seeing it. Okay. So now only it is just again printing the function. Now what do I need to do? I want the numbers here one by one. So what do I do? I'm just writing one for loop for I in range of, this is a for loop basically. I in range of 1 to 10. Let me give a colon. And then I'm just going to use print I. Now what will happen is nothing but 1 will get stored into this I, 1 will get printed. And what number it need to get incremented? So keep your cursor within this, just give shift, triple tap or tab, you'll be getting it start and then stop, and then step is optional. So if you don't give this step size, the default step size is, if you're reading this, you will be seeing the default step size is 1. So in case, see this, you can also give comma and you can just give 1. Now if you see 1 to 9, that's what it's getting printed, because the last number, it should be n plus 1. Let me give 11. Now you're able to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So what will happen? First 1 will get into I, 1 will get printed, and it will be incremented by 1, and then I will get 2. So 2 will get printed, and again it will be incremented by 1. 1 will get printed, 2 will get printed, 3 will get printed, 4 will get printed, 5 will get printed, 6 will get printed, 7 will get printed, 8 will get printed, 9 will get printed. So what will happen? First 1 will get into I, 1 will get printed, and it will be incremented by 1, and then I will get 2. So 2 will get printed, I will take 3, 3 will get printed. I think for loop we have already studied in our colleges, schools, and everything. For loop in Python, this is the syntax to write this for loop. Okay, so now what do I want to? So as I said this before, this is step size. In case if you want to go with a 2-step size, let's say after 1, what is the 2-step size? 3. After 3, 5. After 3, 7. After 7, it is 9. So let me change it to 2. Now execute it. 13759. All right. So because the next number is, we don't have this 11 number because the numbers are between 1 to 10. So here it's something like a repeated task. So when you wanted to perform something, a repeated task again and again and again, that's when we take it within a looping statement, right? So whenever we are listening to some songs, a 4-minute songs it is, MP3 video, we just go with the looping one. All right, so repeat the song again and again and again. So when you wanted to perform the same thing again and again and again for the specific number of times, you can enclose within this for loop. Got it, everyone? Abdul, instead of comma, hyphen will be there. Yes, in the other programming language, I think so. Yes, correct. Understood. Wonderful. In Java and everything, you go with I plus 1 and I equal to and something, some other syntax we follow, but here it is something here we used to follow this. So this is what run in circles is all about. Now I will be giving you one task for you all to work on call. That is, I want you to create a user-defined function with for loop. All right, I will be giving you 3 minutes time for this. Create a user-defined function, and that user-defined function need to contain one for loop, and it need to return something when you're calling it. Let me give 3 minutes time for this. Okay, you can give it, and when you're creating the function, yes, you can go with anything, but let it be something, some logic, at least minimal. At this, I'm considering everyone as a entry point here. You can just give me anything, any basics. I just want you to create a user-defined function with for loop. So the definition need to have a for loop. That part I wanted to see, and it need to have some logic behind it, any logic. Okay, so let me give 3 minutes time, and you can post your answers on the chat box. I'll be looking into it. Create a user-defined function with for loop. That's the question. 3 minutes time starts now. Pratyush has said you can use internet, but don't try to copy from the internet and paste it, Pratyush. I want you to type it and send it to me. And the question is create a user-defined function. Have you created a function? You just used only for loop. Once check it out. Wonderful, Pratyush. If you have did it, that's great. Your logic is perfect here. But again, where is this user-defined function? Have you created it? The logic is perfect. Try to take it within a user-defined function and call it. Great, Sania. Wonderful. But indentation problem, I think so. But anyway, you got this point. Wonderful, great. Great, Rafi. Perfect. Deepan. Okay. Deepan, I'm not seeing your complete script. Sania. Okay, okay, got it. It's okay, Sania. Understandable. Fine. Thing with mobile phone, if you're trying to type it and listen to it, send it, it's more appreciated. I think you're listening to the lecture, concentrating more. I think so. Appreciate your efforts. Sania. So Venus, where is the function name? Have you created a function? Okay, fine. Here you have done it. Great. Appreciate it, Venus. Wonderful. Amul, complete script. Can you give me? Perfect, Mohammed. Wonderful. All right, time's up. Really appreciate all your efforts. I could see many of you tried it. And Rafi, definition of numbers, perfect Rafi, Harsh. Oh, wonderful, Harsh. I think you have not calling your function. You created it. You missed to attach that script, I think so. It's okay, fine. I understand that. Pratyush, I tried to make multiplication table. Wonderful, Pratyush. I think within the given timeline, you all managed to give it. Really appreciate everyone's effort. But I'm able to see everyone tried with this numbers. So what I'll do, let me try with some characters here. See this? Let me create one function. Basically, I'll be calling this function, let's say get name, something like I'll be doing it. Get name. Let's say I'll pass Muhammad. All right, this is the name I'm going to pass it. So let me create the get name. This is nothing but name. And what I'll do for I in name, every character wise I'll be getting it. So because that's how this for loop will work, each and every character. So what I'll do, print this particular I. So M will get into it, M will get printed next O, H, A, M, M, D. Once it is done, after terminating point, return, the termination point is, let's say I will be giving function terminated. Just it's my own thing, right? So function terminated. First, let me define it. Let me call it, see this, Mohammed function terminated. So this is how you can write your use-defined function. Any logic, you can come up with any logics, but I just wanted to give you this example so that you can know that with strings, that is English words, you can use it with respect to for loop, and also numbers also you can get into it. Got my point, everyone? Pratyush, appreciate it. Wonderful, great. Is this point clear? Can I get a quick information from everyone, please? Up to this, clear or not? Sania, Pratyush. Great. Fine. So that's all about this chapter 4. Okay. So we are done with this chapter 4. Now let's get into this chapter 5 and discuss about this conditional logics. Okay. Let's get into it. Chapter 5. This is also pretty important chapter. Let me complete it. Crystal clear. Harsh, wonderful. All right. Now we are at chapter 5. It is conditional logics. All right. Now, what is this conditional logics? It's nothing but see this. Now here I'm able to see Nabila. Now Nabila's physics score, physics, let's say she got a mark of, let's say 80. In chemistry, she got a mark of, let's say 85. And in math subject, let me align it max subject, she got, let's say 100. Okay. So three variables I got it stored. Now I want to ask this. Now let's say Nabila's classmate whose name is Sania. Sania is asking this question. Hey, so I want to know, is your math marks, is it greater than your chemistry marks? What would be the answer? Is math marks greater than chemistry marks? It is yes, right? So we used to say yes or no, or true or false. A similar way, machine also will say yes or true or false. Basically, it will never say yes or no. It will say true or false. Yes, math marks is greater than chemistry marks. So we call it as conditions, or we can say arithmetic operators. So just you need to know about this arithmetic operators and everything. Now I want to know, let's say Boolean. Yes, it's a Boolean operator. Now let's say is 5. Before we get into this, I wanted to say, is 5 equal to 5? Is 5 equal to 5? True or false? Oh, everybody understood it well. Everyone are giving this right answer except Nabila. See this, it is false. Why? Because it is string. How can I compare integer with a string? So if you're comparing 5 is equal to 5, now it will be, yes, Nabila, great. Now it will be true. Okay. So if you're using only single operator, we call it as single equal to, we call it as an assignment operator. That is, you can't do this particular part. See this, cannot assign literal here. So if you're using equal to, whatever you're giving it to the right hand side, it will be stored into the left hand side. That is not an equal to operator. Now, if you wanted to compare between two values, you need to go with double equal to. We call this an equal to operator. All right. Equal to operator. These are all some arithmetic operators. Now, let me say 5. What would be the answer? This exclamatory mark equal to is nothing but not equal to. What would be the answer? Once think on it. Wonderful. It is true. I think everybody got it. Great. Now I want to know 4 divided by 3. What is the answer? What will be the answer? So this returns what? Divided by will return what? 1.33 is nothing but it is quotient, right? This will return quotient. Now I want to know the remainder. If I want to know the remainder, I would be using which operator? Modulo. So the remainder is 1. Modulo, right? So that is something which you need to know. So now I want to know, let me give one more logic here. Let's say, so the answer is what? What do you think the answer? This one? Mustafa, it's float, right? It is a quotient basically, Mustafa. It will be returning quotient. Great. I think everybody got this answer. It is true, right? Great. Wonderful. Just look onto this logic. I will be giving you one small task here. So these operators, we call this equal to operator, not equal to quotient. There's nothing but a remainder operator. So Gagandhar, you can post if you, in case if you have any questions, you can post it on the chat box, Gagandhar, if you have any questions. A remainder. And this is nothing but it is just a condition I've just given. So this is all nothing but that's what comparing values. Okay, this is what I mean by comparing values. So let me just give this title here, 5.1. Compare values. All right. Now I'm going to add some logic to it. So before this, you can just give it 5.2. It is add some logic. Add some logics. Okay, how I'm going to add some logic. So here I'm just giving math marks greater than this. Now here is my, let me ask this next question. Physics marks, is it less than chemistry marks? What do you say? The answer is, again, it is true. Now I wanted to compare math marks is greater than physics marks and physics marks. So these two things I have to compare it. So to compare two conditions, this is one condition, this is one condition. We have greater of it. We have some operators. So that operators you might be studied already. Let me give you this. You can copy and paste it from the chat box. There are different operators here. See this? Or operator, yes, I think everybody got this point. You can look onto the chat box, try to copy it. Try to paste it in case if it is not available. Maybe I will be sharing this notebook today, post session. You can take it from here. So there are different operators in Python. And operator we have, or operator we have, in operator we have, not in operator we have. Even we have something called as bitwise operator. Note it down, you can read about it later. We have something called as bitwise operator where we use ampersand and or and everything. So now here let me try to use this and operator. See this? Now is math marks greater than chemistry, and the space and everything is not a problem. You can give a number of spaces. 1 minute. All right. Is math marks greater than chemistry marks? This is nothing but true. Physics greater than chemistry, physics less than chemistry, true. So true and true. The result is nothing but true. Great. Let's say I'm just going to change this part. Now math marks less than chemistry, chemistry marks less than chemistry. What would be the answer? It is false. Yes, Julie, we can use it. That is a bitwise operator. Instead of this and, we can also use this bitwise operator we call ampersand. See this? Instead of this, we call it a bitwise operator. That's what I even I said to explore it. This is an arithmetic, something like English word. We can just give it another way of doing it. And, right. But here, if I'm just giving or operator, what would be the answer? It is true. That's what is given. Will return true if any one of the condition is true. All right. Now, instead of this R, what we do with respect to bitwise, we just try to give this signal. On top of your enter button, you're having this straight line. You can just give it. This is also a bitwise. I think this is AND operator. I think so. This is returning me false. Let me give this R. You can just explore it. What is the other operand of bitwise operand of R? You can just explore it. You should be getting it. Okay. So our operator is nothing but here at any one condition need to be true. So here math, if it is less than chemistry, no, it is false. Physics less than chemistry, yes. So if any one condition is true, our operator is going to give it true. Now the next one is in. Let's say here I got a feedback from Rafi. Rafi's feedback. Python session is something like interesting. Is interesting. Let's say Rafi is pretty much happy with the Python session. Okay. Now I just store this particular thing in Rafi's feedback. Now what I want to do is nothing but is anything like is there anything like interesting in this Rafi's feedback? Anything like interesting in Rafi's feedback? The answer is true. Again, in operator is used to find. Again, it's every answer is nothing but a Boolean. So we used to ask this question: hey, do you have this pen? Do you have a pen in your pocket? In your pocket, it's something we're taught. It's a proportion what we use. We used to say yes or no. The similar way here also. It's, let's say, is there anything like interesting not in? What would be the answer here? False. It is false. So the point here is nothing but just I'm trying to introduce you to different operators, what we have in Python and all the other languages you might have encountered. But here my goal is nothing but with Python, how we can use all this operator. That's what we are learning it here. So these are all the different operators you have with Python, equal to, not equal to, and everything. So up to this clear, everyone? Pratyush's assignment and equal to operator are also considered. No, assignment operator, I think it's only one equal to. Equal to operator, we have to use double equal to. I think I've explained it already. Up to this clear? In C++, the operator is, yes, I think so, Pranav. Yep, right. All right. Now let's move on to the next part. That is, next part is also pretty much important. Control the flow of your program. How I'm going to control the flow of my program? Let's get into this part. See this. Let me give 5. This is 5.3. Control the flow of your program. So how I'm going to control the flow of my program? Let's say here, whenever we are writing our, let's say whenever we are signing up to any account, let's say LinkedIn or Facebook and everything, we try to give our password, right? And when the password, if it is less than 5 characters, it is going to say, hey, your password is less than 5. It is a weak password. If it is more than 5, it is going to say it is a strong password. Basically, there is a control switch between the password what you're giving. So what I'm doing in here is nothing, but let me try to take my input, enter your password. Let's say, enter your password. This will be the display message. Okay. Let's say I'm going to capture this in user password. User password. What is colon equal to? Not sure what is this colon equal to, Hush. We'll explore it in a while. Post this part. Let me try to do that. See this input will get stored into this user input. Now what do I do? For so not for. If this, how exactly they would be doing this programming in the backend? Let's try to understand. If this length of this user input, the length of this user input, if it is less than 5, which means that it is 4, colon, I'll be printing this. It is a weak password. Weak password. Maybe they will be giving some red color and everything. Else it is a strong password. Or strong password. See this? Now let me try to give it shift enter. Now let me just try to give a password. Let's say the password is Pranav. Let's say Pran. So now what do you think, weak password or strong password? What would be the answer? It is a, no, it is not a syntax error. It is a weak password. We are giving properly indentation. It's a weak password. Now let me execute again. Pranav. Let's say Pranav. So now it becomes weak or strong. Yes, Ibrahim, we can also do that. Yes. Is it weak, Pranav? Just to see this. It is less than 5, which means that what? It is 4 characters. Now it is greater than 4, right? So it is strong password. Okay, because the number of characters what you entered is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a length basically. Okay. Now this is something, how I'm going to control the flow of my program. Either I will be executing this one or the program will take this one. This is how I'll be controlling the flow of the program. And some cases what they do is nothing, but you'll be getting this kind of messages also. So if it is less than 5, weak password, else if If the length of the password, let me copy this. If the length of the password, if it is between, let's say 5 to 5 to, let's say less than or equal to 10. Okay. If it is 5 to 10 characters, let me give a colon, then I'll be printing it is a moderate password. It is a moderate password. Okay. If it is greater than 10, it will be printing strong password. But if I'm just executing like this is going to throw me an error saying that else if it is an invalid syntax. So if it is a Java programming language or C++, we try to go with nested if statement by giving else if and everything. But in Python, we don't have this else if. We have something called as elif. All right, great Ibrahim, elif. Okay, we have something called as elif. Now let me execute it. Let's say I'm just going to give this Ibrahim at the rate of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, which one I will be getting it? Moderate password or strong password or weak password? Yes, Pratyush, we can also do that. But Python, yes, we can do that. But basically, whenever we are doing that, we try to go with form. Whenever we are creating HTML pages and everything, we try to do that, right, by using HTML and everything. But that's not the goal here. This is just a base for you to understand how to make use of if, else, if, and if. We are not going to create a form here, like how to hide it and everything. That's not the goal here. Just to give you how to write this if statement, else statement, and everything. To create a form, yes, we need to know HTML knowledge, bootstrapping, and everything. The purpose is different here. All right. Fine, it is strong password. I think everybody got it. Strong password. Let me again execute it. Let's say it is Pranav. Okay, it is Pranav. Now, which one will get executed? Moderate. It is moderate password. Great. I think everybody got this point. It is Pranav. So this is how I will be controlling the flow of my program. Okay, so that's all about this particular chapter. Now we have come to the end of, yes, one challenge. Let me give it to you. Okay, challenge, starting but 5.4. I just want you to find the, let's say, challenge to find the factors of a number. Challenge to find the factors of a number. That is, let me give a clue. If user, that you have to get the input from the user. If user enters number, if user enters number 10, what are the factors of the number? The output should be, the output should be 1, 2, 5, and 10. So the numbers which are divisible by 10, great Pranav. So the numbers which are divisible by 10, we call it as factors of the number. So in this way, let's say the user, if he comes and enters 20, then the factors of the numbers are 10, 20. So this output I need to see. For this, you can take again, maybe, let me give reset. Let me say 5 minutes time, maybe 4 minutes time. Let me give it 4 minutes time. Try to think about the logic and come up with the answers. Okay, 4 minutes time. And maybe I won't be getting into this data structures today because it demands 1 hour time to understand. Let's take that tomorrow, but this is something which you have to focus on. And then we'll be having the next module, only one module, and we will be winding up our session today. Okay. You can use internet if you want and everything. I'm not stopping you, but if you're posting it, you should be able to understand it. to you have to decode and understand line by line what is written inside. Don't try to give me the answer as quick as possible. But if the major goal is you want to understand what it is written over there, or you can think about the logic, you can write whatever you want. But the logic, it should be good. Galton, when I type the password code, the enter your password, it is not showing, but I don't have any errors. When I type the password code, enter you have to give it, right? With an input, you have to give it. Enter your password. This you have to give it. With an input, you have to give it. Yes. So we have 2.5 minutes left out. Wonderful, Ibrahim. Perfect. And Galtron, it's not coming. Okay. Can you share your script on the chat box, Galton? Yes, Samuel, you'll be getting the attendance link in a while. Ibrahim, perfect. And Rafi, perfect. Rafi, yes. Fantastic. Sajid, it keeps on adding the previous number. Try to give this script, Sajid. Perfect, Mohammed. Abdul, can you give me the complete script? Thanks, Rami. I think Rami has posted the attendance link on the chat box. You can still do it. Julie. Perfect, Julie. Great. Sanya. You're trying to give spaces in your mobile phone. Okay. Again, Sanya, if you have executed the same in your Jupyter notebook, you will know where you're lacking. There is something which you have to do there. Binish, why you're finding out the factorial of a number? The question is not factorial of a number, Binish. Factors of a number, that's what the question. Once look onto it. Abdul, complete script. Harsh, complete script. Snehal, okay. Abdul. Oh, application, your mobile phone, you're done. Okay. Now I think everybody are trying it. See this, let me give you this logic. So see this, the user will come and enter a number, that is input. Enter the number. And I'll say something, I'll be giving it. And I'll say the factors of it. So there is a mistake here. What is the mistake? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Double quotes. Great, quotation mistake. So because I'll be using single quotes here, let's say the factors of it. So this is what I'll be doing. So if this user input, because here we have to change it, right? It is a string basically. So we can't find out the factors of a number if it is a string. So I'm going to do this typecasting integer. Let me try to take it in an integer. And if user input, let me try to do this. So basically I'll be writing a for loop, because for I in range of, let's say 1, the user input, let's say the user if comes and enters He can enter anything. Let's say 10 or 20, he can enter anything. If he has entered 10, we can directly give till 11, we can give it, right? So if I'm just entering, let's say the user input, let's say he enters 10, whatever the number, if I'm just giving it. All right, so let me give a comma. There is something which you have to do here. Sorry, colon. Now what I want to do, the remainder, that is, the remainder need to be equal to 0. So if I'm dividing this user input, that is, let's say 10, user underscore input 10, if the remainder, when it is divisible, now here if you just give the range, here you'll be getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say the user input is 10. Now here the number is 10. Till what you'll be getting it? Till only 9 you will be getting it, right? Let me repeat it. This will take some time to understand for most of us, but few you will be getting it immediately. So here if the user has given 10, now the user input, it will be 10. Now when you wanted to find the factors of the number, you have to include 10 in this number. But in case if you just give only 10 here, it will be divided by 1, 2, 3 till 9. So what you do, it need to be include 10. So what you can do, user input plus 1 you have to give it. Great, Pranav, Harshit, Rafai, great. So user input plus 1 you have to give it over here at the end, so that the last number also it will be taken. So what will happen, that user input, the remainder, when it is divided by this number, if it is equal to 0, then what I'll do, let's say print, I want to use this print, the factors of is, let me use this kind of placeholder, dot format. The first placeholder, this first placeholder is nothing but what I need to take, user input. The factors of 10 is, comma, the second bracket I'll be taking I, right? Now see, the user input, let's say it is 10. The factors of 10 is 1, 2, 5, 10. So in case if you have not given this plus 1, you'll be getting only 5, because 10 will never get considered. See this? Only 5. So it need to be divided. So here what it is doing, let's say the user has given the number 10, is 10 divided by 1. That is the first. I is nothing but what? 1. So is 10 modulo, is the remainder, is it equal to 0? If it is equal to 0, I'll be getting into it and I'll be printing 1. Then it will be auto incremented by 1 basically. So now I is equal to 2. So now the user input is 10 divided by 2. Is it equal to 0? The remainder, is it equal to 0? If it is yes, it will get into it, 2 will get printed. Now this, it will be incremented by 3. I is equal to 3. Is 10 remainder modulo 3? The remainder, is it equal to 0? No. So this will not get printed. Then it will be incremented by 4. Is 10 modulo 4? Is the remainder 0? No. It is 5. Yes. Right. So then it will be get into it. 6, 7, 8, 9. Until 9, it will be get printed if it is still user input. So for that reason, we have to make sure it is including 10. For that, I'm just giving plus 1. Now I'm giving it. That's the logic behind the scene. Let's say 20. 10, 20 will get included. Got it, everyone? Just confirm me. Pratyush, clear. Dot format option, I think again, Mustafa, yesterday we learned this dot formatting. It's a placeholder option. If you have missed yesterday's recording, once go back and watch it out. We call it as the print formatting. Inserting within single quotes, I'm inserting the placeholders, and the first placeholder, what value need to come. I'm using this format option, taking the first value as user input, and second value as I. Once if it is still not clear, just try to explore about print formatting. Just try to explore about print formatting option. You'll be getting a lot of materials. That's it. Fine. I think everybody got this point. Now we have come to the last, great Arshad. Now we have come to the last part of today's session, that is break out of the pattern. That is, see this. Let me give 5. And after this, I'll be giving a task for you all. Try to work on it. Break out of the pattern. So what we'll do is nothing but see this. Here, whenever you're opening up this, let's say any gaming application or any command prompt window, what will happen is nothing but it will just ask you type Q to exit this window, right? So only if you're just, even if you can't find this close button anywhere. So what I'll do is nothing but Let me try to take this into any command prompt window. You might have experience. It will be displaying a message. Type Q to exit this window. Even if you give this close button, everything, it will not get closed. Only Q button, it will just take you here. So it is a string, so I'm not going to typecast anything. So this is nothing but a user input. So now what I'll do, if user input, if it is equal to double equal to Q, then I wanted to break it. Break is nothing but close this window. That's what I want to do. If I'm just giving this, see this, let's say I will be giving something like R or whatever it is going to give me a syntax problem. Break outside the loop. So the point here is nothing but your command prompt window or your gaming application will run in the background all the time, which means that that application is active all the time. So now what do we want to do? That's the same thing. You can't do directly use this break statement directly. The syntax error itself says break outside the loop. So you can include this break only within some looping statements. So what are all the looping statements that you have learned it from your 12th standard or 11th standard? We have for loop, while loop, do while loop, you have learned. So mostly we'll be using this for and while in Python. Do while we don't use it. So let me try to use this particular topic. Let me try to use this while loop here. Now, this condition need to be active all the time. So what do? I take this condition, let me give a tab space. And before this, I'll be giving this like while true colon. You might have seen this kind of scripts. Now, what is this while true colon is nothing but this, this application need to be active all the time. So whatever you're writing it here, the application or whatever it is, you might see this while true, this will be active all the time. So what I do is nothing, let me give shift enter. Now you're just giving R. Still the control is here. See this? If you're seeing this asterisk button, it means that the control is still in that particular application. You're not coming out. T, I. Now say I'm just going to give Q. Now see this? The control got the application got out. So now this Q is nothing. See this now this break is not executable outside your looping statement. It should be at least a while or a for loop. It should be like that. So now what to again see this? One more thing to be noted. Now T. Let me Y T it is not given. Now by mistake, let's say our caps lock is on. Let's say Q you're giving it. Now even if you're just giving capital Q, it is not exiting this window. But let it be small q or capital Q. So the window need to be exited, right? So it is not happening here. So what do I need to do is nothing but, let's say the user comes and enters, let it be small q or capital Q, let it be whatever it is. Now the control need to be, only if you give small q, the control will get exited. But whenever we are defining the function, what we do is nothing but, let's say by mistake, the input is capital Q. Now when we are writing this function, this is just a logic dot, it is a string, right? User input is a string. So you'll be getting string related function. I'm just keeping a dot, make it lower. All right, make it lower. User input, let's say, yes, Mohammed, you got it. So let it be capital Q or small q, whatever it is. If it is a capital Q, it will lower it. And if it is equal to Q, then break it. See this? Now let me execute it, shift enter. Let's say capital Q, I'm giving it. Let's say any other alphabets, T, no. Now I'm just giving capital Q. Now this capital Q will get stored in user input. So this user input dot lower is nothing but it will make it as a small q. And is the condition is it satisfied? Yes. Now it will exit. So this kind of conditions you can give it with respect to while loop and everything. So break is nothing but you can try to give this break within your looping statements. Either you can, if you're just giving it like capital Q, here you have to make it what? Let's say the small q here they have given. Here you have to make it as, instead of this, you have to make it as what? Upper cases. Anything is fine. Any logic you can give it. So, but I'm good with small q. It's up to me to write it. That's it. Up to this, clear, everyone? Great. Fine. And one last point is nothing but, see this, there is some more thing. Let's say break, we learned it, but there is something like, so let's say for I in range of 1 to 51. Basically, I wanted to print till 51. So what do you say? print I, what will happen is nothing but every numbers from 1 to 50, it will get printed, right? So now what I want to do is nothing but, let's say print I before this, if I, if it is equal to 15 colon equal to 15, I'm just using break. Now what would be the output? You will see output of what? Okay, 1 to 14, great. You'll be saying 1 to 4 because if it is 15, the number will get break, right? So only if this condition, if it is satisfied, I will be getting into this. Break is nothing but it is an abrupt termination. You are going to terminate it abruptly. So what now, instead of break, let me use continue. There is something called as continue. Now what would be the output? Can anyone guess it? No change. Excellent, Mohammed. Great. Sania, wonderful. I think everybody are able to get it. So what will happen is nothing but continue. It is, if this condition, if it is satisfied, once this is continue, then it will never, let it be whatever the script you have given it here, right? You can type whatever it, any number of scripts if you have given it. Once this condition is satisfied, continue is nothing but continue the process. Don't look onto the below steps, just continue it, just skip it. We can say it is a skip it. So I is equal to 15, what this continue will just go and iterate it. So once if you see the output, except 15, the process will get continued. So this logic also, whenever we are writing the programming language, this logic also will sometimes we try to give it. Hey, you might see this kind of error happen in my program. If you see this kind of problem, just skip it out, right? Whenever maybe whenever we are trying to copy and paste the files or trying to delete some files, there would be some option which will get popped up, skip, right? So it will try to copy and paste it, but some options will be like skip. Skip is like continue. I have to continue this process, but some process I have to skip it. So that's what this continue is all about. That's the end of 5 chapters. So let me do a quick recap of what we discussed today. We just started with how to write our functions. The basic function we created, and then we created this positional arguments, and then default arguments we learned, and then variable length argument we learned it, and then keyword argument we learned it, and then we combined variable length and keyword argument we learned, and then we got into this run in circles, that is nothing but for loop. And then I think so we worked on this run on circles, how to definitions with for how to create a user defined function with for loop, we learned it. And then we got into this next chapter 5, conditional logic. We just explored different arithmetic operators, and then we added some logic to it by introducing and operator, or operator, not in everything. And then we got into this control, how to control the flow of the program by giving this if else statement and everything. And then we worked on this break statement, break and continue, we worked on it. With that, we have completed today's session. So now the task is nothing but, this would be a bit, not bit, it is a very painful task to complete, but in case if you're working on it, you will be getting good learning here. This is the daily task number 2, which I used to give it to my data science learners and AA learners as well. Just try to see whether you're able to complete it or not. This is so what I wanted is nothing but you can just practice for while loop. 2 examples, submit 2 examples. You don't need to submit it. Basically, you can try it out. 2 examples for while loop, 2 examples for loop. Try to explore, write 2 examples for if else user defined function, 2 examples for if, elif, and else, and then create a user defined function without using for loop, without using if loop, just a user defined function. Then try to create a user defined function with for loop. Then try to create a user defined function with which has for loop and if loop, sorry, if statement, if it is a condition. And then I want to use break statement to example, continue to example. Then you have to come up with for loop, which has in operator, then for loop with if statement, for loop with not an operator, if statement with in operator, if statement with not an operator. If you're able to complete this, then you will be having a good grip on this Python programming part, which is required for AI session and also for machine learning program. This is more than sufficient to get in touch with the basics of Python programming part. So there are a lot of things to learn from Python. We are not going to be a Python developer. Our goal is to just touch this Python, which is sufficient to take you towards this machine learning scripting and everything. This is more than sufficient. Now, with respect to this knowledge, if you're practicing this assignments or the daily given tasks, so you will be very strong in this Python programming part. Supriya, you don't need to submit it, Supriya. If it is a 3 months program, I will be looking into all your assignments. But since it is a 2-hour session here, I can't look into your assignments and everything. Just for your practice, you can just take it out. Okay. I thought of getting into this Python data structures today, but I think it's already going to be 9 o'clock. So I'm prioritizing. I'm just giving more priority to all your queries rather than completing the topics whatever I've just given over there. So I hope all your queries is getting answered whenever you're giving me on the chat box. So we can take it as a take it like this, I think so that your queries will get answered. And we will be continuing this particular session. Okay, so I think we are good till here. All right, Sadiq. Fine, so that's it for today, everyone. Hope we all had a good learning this week. Great, Mohammed. So let's come back next week, Monday, and we will be continuing our session with Python data structures and Python libraries. And again, how we can make use of this Python for data analysis. Very, very important part, because as I said before, Python can be used for data analysis and also for automation purpose. So in the next week, we will be spending more time on how we can make use of Python for data analysis and why, I think someone, Mohammed, I think so, why we are, can you give any practical use case where we are going to use this variable length and everything. So next week you will be learning all these particular steps, but try to work on this task. I think you're having 2 days as a holiday. You can spend more time. And this task, if you're from a non-programming background, it will be taking 7 to 8 hours. I think so. So one of my learners, she had spent around 10 to 12 hours to complete it. This task, she had spent that much time. And because she had a career gap of I think 3 years, she's basically a mother, and but again she made it. And now she got into the job basically. So gaps is not something which will determine in case if you're having a career gap within your path. But I think so most of you are all working professionals and you're engineering graduates. But in case if some of your friends or who are feeling that I'm having a career gap post completion of this engineering, so gaps is not something here, we are not going to look into it. So even if it is a gaps, if you're trying to work on some projects and if you showcase your value to the client or the recruiter or the interviewer, definitely he's going to get it. So I do have a lot of my learners who got placed after 11 years. All right. So try to work on that. Maybe 1 minute. Let me show you this. You can look onto this in case. See this. So this is one of my learner. So she had 11 years of career gap, and she got an offer letter from Wipro with 7 LPA. All right. So the point is nothing but see this 15th March. I'm just showing you so that you all, the path is, it will take a lot of time basically. So we need to have a lot of patience towards learning, and every day it's going to, if it is a 3 months program, every day it is going to be a new topic. We have to have a lot of patience over there. So the path is something which will take a lot of time, but the point is nothing but success is not determined by your gaps. But if you keep working on it, if you keep struggling for it, that, let's say, without any hesitation, try to keep working, definitely you can just land up there. All right. I'm just showing you so that people are making it happen. It's not happened before 10 years or 15 years. It's just happening today in the market. So just try to look onto the things and keep working on this part. Okay. Thanks, Rafi. Great. Great, then. Take care, everyone. Hope you had a good session. Fill out all your attendance sheets. And in case if you feel that we have to take this session in another way or some other way, or you can just post all your feedbacks on your attendance sheet. I think you do have the feedbacks there. So you can give all your comments over there. Definitely, I will be looking into it. In case if there is any corrections needed, I will be doing that. Okay. Yes, Jyoti. Thank you. Take care, everyone. See you all next week, Monday.